All right. He is an up-and-coming singer-songwriter originally from the suburbs of Chicago, now living in Los Angeles. He just completed his first headlining tour. His single that blew up on TikTok, Long Distance, landed number 4 on Apple Music's new releases. And his latest EP was featured in Time magazine as one of the top things to hear this week. Please say hello to JORDY.
What's up, JORDY?
Hello. Hello.
Hi, JORDY. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you guys.
On this Monday morning, what a great way to start the week.
Yes, I know. We're like a week away from Christmas too. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course. No, this is perfect, actually. I feel like, I just got back from tour. Now I have a couple weeks to chill. So this works out great.
We're actually really excited to talk about tour, but we'll save that for a little later on. I want to start with, you grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. So did I. Whereabouts did you grow up? I'm from Wheaton.
I grew up in Northbrook. So
No way.
Yeah, I went to Glenbrook North High School. And I grew up, 25 minutes north of the city. And
that's crazy.
yeah, it was a great place to grow up, I think. I think that all suburbs are kind of like a bubble in their own way. But I think that for the most part, like super grateful and a really nice community to grow.
Do you get to go back and visit often?
Honestly, not as much as I'd like, but definitely like I'm able to go home, a couple times a year, which is really amazing. I was home for Thanksgiving and we did a hometown show in Chicago, and I think I'll be back in February at some point. I'm seeing my family this week for like a little vacay, so that'll be great. But yeah, it's always like not enough, but I'm still grateful that like I can go home,
That's amazing. Yeah, I went to Glenbard South, so I don't think our schools were competitors, but I've heard of your school for sure.
Small world.
I heard of Glenbard. We were the Glenbrooks.
Oh my gosh.
Little
Okay, so
competition.
what made you take the leap to move to LA, and when did that happen in your career?
So I went to college in Boston. I went to BU. And I started as a psychology major. Like, music to me was always the plan, but I feel like when I started college, my priority was to like get a real college experience. And so like I started as a psychology major. I was like a gender studies minor, and I was just like doing the college thing. And then I think when my sophomore year hit, I just felt like a little lost, and I was like, well, I mean, if I genuinely want to become like a musician, or if that's something that's even like achievable, I should probably like switch my major around, maybe to like writing or English, because at the time, like I had been singing ever since I was a little kid. I had been performing forever, but I think that what I needed was like original songs, and like I needed to learn how to like write better. So I switched my major to English. Don't know how much my English major really played into like my songwriting now, but at the same time, like I'm here right now because of all of my previous experiences. So,
I mean, if anything, maybe the psychology major was a factor too, because writing is so much about storytelling and being introspective and knowing what the audience wants to hear and how they can relate. So
for sure.
It's true.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah. I feel like songwriting sessions are therapy for sure. And so like that like intuitive nature, I think, is really important when you're in the room, like writing music with people. But yeah, so when I decided that my sophomore year, I switched my major, and then I just started like doing more music extracurricularly. I started writing a little bit. I started gigging in like different bars and stuff in Boston. I was like in an a cappella group, so I was performing with them. And then, yeah, after I graduated, I was like in a relationship and thought I was staying in Boston. But then I ended up deciding to move to LA just because I knew people there, and it seemed like, if I really wanted to do pop, it seemed like I needed to do that, which I definitely did. So I just kind of left everything and moved.
And now you're the pop boy.
And now I'm pop boy. I'm trying.
You're killing it, man.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. But,
of course.
So the first video I ever saw of you was Long Distance. Did you know that song was going to blow up the way that it did when you recorded it and posted it?
No, I didn't. That one was definitely a surprise. I think a lot of the first TikTok songs were surprises. I think that we were kind of going off of this like release schedule, like depending on like how the song was performing on TikTok. And so like the first thing was a song called I Just Want to Be Loved, which like was my first kind of like TikTok moment where an original song like kind of got traction almost the way Long Distance did, not quite, but that was kind of the first time where I like looked at my manager, was independent at the time, and was like, we should probably put this out because there's like so many people like wanting to pre-save and whatever. So we put out I Just Want to Be Loved. And then those couple of weeks were so strange and intense because I released I Just Want to Be Loved. I then got an opportunity to be on the Jimmy Fallon show for this like songwriter segment. So went to New York, did that. And then like the week later, I decided to put Long Distance up.
That is crazy.
That is
Didn't
so
you
cool.
end up winning that songwriters thing on Jimmy Fallon?
I did. It was cool.
I had
Bravo.
to flex that for you because I'm like, he's being humble. He's not about to say it right now, but I'm going to say it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, and that was very surreal. So those couple of weeks were just like crazy. I had written Long Distance the fall prior. I think this was going on, this happened in January. So it had been a couple of months since the song was written. And to be honest, I was kind of bitter towards the song because I wrote it for someone who ended up kind of breaking my heart a little bit. And so I was not wanting to put it out because there was just like negative energy associated with the song. And then I was bored and was like, let's see what happens. And so.
Is that the norm with your writing? Every song, is it about a very specific person and situation? Or sometimes do you kind of imagine situations or like what if? Like, is it all grounded in truth?
Everything's grounded in truth. Like pretty much. I'm like, the only songs that like I've been a part of that like maybe like weren't as like vulnerable and personal, or maybe a couple of songs I've featured on that like I didn't actually write but still like believed in the song and really like enjoyed, obviously, or else I wouldn't with it. But everything that's like a JORDY song is it's all real, all truth, always.
So speaking of vulnerability in songwriting, I wanted to touch on the song Dressed Up in a T-Shirt. Because I know you speak on body dysmorphia, and I know that's not something that's talked about regularly amongst guys. So I wanted to know, like, what was that like for you writing about something that personal and vulnerable and putting it on TikTok?
I mean, yeah, no, I wrote that song 2 summers ago. And it was like the first summer of the pandemic, and I was actually Zooming with a friend of mine in Sweden. And we, we're just like catching up and talking about life, and it was summertime, and you see everyone in their bathing suits, and for me, like, I don't know, I've never really been an athletic guy. I don't work out all the time, and I have like my own personal battles and journeys with that. Lots of like gym trauma, like from like being a kid in the locker room, and so that kind of part of my experience really fed into this conversation about like, I don't always feel super confident in my body, and I moved to a city, LA, where it's like you're looking around, and especially in the gay community, it's just like Speedos and muscles and like all these things, and I was feeling low, and so we wrote it out. And for me, it's like it's so funny when I put things on TikTok, like that song or like any other like personal experience, it's scary and vulnerable for sure. But I think it's really like seeing the people like interact with it and like connect to it, like makes me feel so much better, like so much less alone. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, it's scary to put it out there, but like once you see that people are like with you and like going through the same shit, it's like, damn, like I feel a lot better now. I feel way less alone. So, there's like hard parts about putting yourself on the internet like vulnerably, but then there's also like really beautiful parts, But that song is really special. It's one of my favorites on the album for sure.
Yeah, I applaud you for doing that. And it's amazing how many people were connecting to that song. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
One thing that you touched on earlier, you mentioned record label, you mentioned manager. I'm always curious, as an independent artist, at what point do you know it's the right time to expand your team? And specifically for you, what were those moments where you thought, okay, I need a manager now?
100%. I think it's always gut feeling for me and like intuition. Like, you know, some things won't pan out, and that's life, and that's just like the nature of the music industry. Like, that's a part of it. But if it feels good to you in the moment, and obviously if you're consulting with people and friends, perhaps, you know, I think that's always a good idea, to consult with like outside people, hopefully maybe somebody you know in the industry who can like answer your questions about a contract or something. But you know, my first manager that I ever worked with came after I put out my first single that was also distributed by a label. Actually, it was like a Submit Hub success story. Like, I literally like submitted my song on Submit Hub, got a million no's, and then this one label based in Amsterdam was like, "We love the song, like we want to distribute it." So I was like, "Cool."
Wow.
That's cool.
They put out the song. That was a journey. I won't go into that, but luckily the song came out, which was great, and it was like a 1-song deal, which was awesome. And so that song ended up getting playlisted a little bit, and then somebody in Sweden ended up hearing it. He like just, you know, started asking me for more music, and he was introducing himself. We had a couple of conversations, and then we kind of just like kept chatting and working together. And for me, like, as an independent artist, like, work with anyone who's not like dangling a contract in your face. Like, if somebody is willing to like work with you on their own time, who like believes in you, and they're like not making you sign anything, and they're just like actively helping you, there's literally nothing wrong with that. Just don't sign anything and you're fine. So
that's great
like,
advice. Yeah.
if people are like wanting to help, like, let them, like, let people help you, like, let people, you know, get rid of the imposter syndrome. Like, if somebody like wants to help you, like, take their help. So this guy wanted to help me. He then became my manager. That didn't actually pan out. But he flew me to Sweden, which is how I met the co-writer I wrote Dressed Up in a T-Shirt with. And that trip to Sweden was like amazing. And I met so many incredible writers. But when I came back to LA, it was kind of clear that like me and that manager like weren't communicating properly, and there were just like factors and things. And so we stopped working together. But then he looped me in an email with my current manager now. So, I mean, it's very like domino effect, and very, you know, like, once, you know, things start moving, I think like organically, like, people will start reaching out, and like, you know, people are hearing your music and such and whatever. But also, you know, I have a lot of independent artist friends who are killing it and making so many moves, and who are like completely solo and independent. And so it's like really whatever works best for you. For me, like, at the time, I felt like I needed help. I felt like I needed guidance and direction. And, you know, a couple of hiccups, you know, led to the team I have now, which I love so much. And, you know, it's just those low moments and those scary moments are like a part of it. Just make sure you're like talking to the right people, surrounding yourself with good friends and family who support you. And just like talk to a lawyer always, I'd say. Too. Like, it's better to have a lawyer before a manager, I think, because I think that to have someone, which is actually what I had, which I was lucky. I met my lawyer first. So just like making sure you're protected and stuff. But if someone wants to help you.
Were you consulting with the entertainment lawyer even when you weren't signing contracts, like just for other things in general? Or was it only because you had contracts in the air, so you knew you needed a lawyer to look it over?
No, he like heard my music and like wanted to represent me, kind of thing. So
that's awesome.
There was like some managerial aspects to that relationship too. Granted, I also have a new lawyer now who I adore. I love everybody who I have like come in contact with in my career, but it's like, you know, the journey in music is very much like domino effect. You meet someone through this person, you meet someone through that person, you keep going. And, you know, some people end up needing to prioritize other things, and then you find that person who wants to prioritize you, and that's beautiful and amazing. And so really just like trust your gut, and, you know, like, yeah, trust the process, you know.
I love that you've gotten to experience both, because we created this brand and this podcast to help anyone who is just starting out in their independent journey kind of learn what equipment to use, talk to other writers and inspire them. Like, how do you get over writer's block? But then also, when you are ready, or if you want to sign with a label, making sure that you're making an informed decision. Because I think especially now online, there's so many young artists, and the thought of a label reaching out to them with their first release and them just getting excited and just signing away 80% of their master it's just so scary to me. So I'm like, let's make sure people are equipped to be independent, but also equipped to sign with a label and make sure they're getting a good deal and being smart about it.
Yeah.
So your advice is like spot on.
I would say, like, for me, when I signed, the mindset should always be, how do I phrase this? I was going to say, like, it's a two-way street. Like, you should see the label needing you the same amount you need the label. You know what I mean? Like, for me, I low-key, I put out like 25 plus songs before I signed my record deal. Like, I had been putting out so much music. Like, there was, as you said, there was like 3 EPs, just put out the album with the label, but like there was like a project happening before TikTok, before label, before anything. And so for me, it was like when the deal came, I was like, I felt like I was in a place where I was comfortable enough in my own skin and in my own career to like add on this partnership. Like, this wasn't something I was like, I need the label to like be big or whatever. It's like, I think you need the mindset that you can do this on your own if you needed to. But like, if a label wants to come in and they want to financially support you and they want to like love you and like help bring your vision that you're seeing to life, and you have a good lawyer look over the contract, like, fuck yeah, like, let's expand the team, you know what
I love it.
But I think that like you need to be in a good place yourself. I mean, it's kind of the same as like in a romantic relationship. You need to be good on your own before like allowing somebody else in. You know what I mean?
God, why was that just the best way to word that?
I know,
loved
right?
That.
We got to steal that. Yeah, the fact that you went into those label meetings with all your leverage from having put out all those singles. Yeah, between 2020 and 2021, you put out like 4 EPs, right? There was a bunch of little projects that you were putting out.
It's like, so there's been a lot of so many songs.
Yeah.
And well, so speaking of 2020 to 2021, we looked in your streams like more than doubled.
Yeah.
What was that main factor of growth for you?
Good question. Yeah.
I feel like for me, it's like consistency. Like for me, it was like, we're always like, there's just like single EP singles, like just constantly putting out music. I feel like that was like a huge part of it. And, you know, like, I don't know. It's just like, I think that like another thing to remember, especially if you're like an independent artist, like listening to this and you're like working other jobs or whatever, I did the same thing. Like any work you put into anything, like whether it's music or like your side hustle or anything, like I feel like I've grown to learn that like it all goes into the same thing. It all goes into the same thing. You know what I mean? It's like you're going to grow if you're working hard, wherever that is, whether it's like working your shift and then coming back and like recording music, or like, you know, like working on your personal relationships. It's like, I think as musicians, we need to remember like the life that surrounds us. You know what I mean? The things that we need to like write about, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was like songwriting is a muscle. I just kept doing it and I kept writing and putting out music. And, you know, now I have resources like TikTok and like other things, but even TikTok isn't always reliable. You know, it's a constant journey. You can't like bank on, you know, every song being like a viral long distance story. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a journey. You just got to keep doing it.
Totally. Yeah, go for it.
I was just going to say, have you ever had a moment where you like butt heads with a manager or label about a decision you're making, a song you're writing, your release schedule?
Honestly, no, which is like amazing. I think there's been like good discussions and maybe like disagreements in discussions, but in a very healthy professional way. It's like, you know, I have an A&R team to give me input. Like I want their professional opinion. I think they also trust me as a musician. You know what I mean? And so
that's great.
I'm lucky that like, yes, I'm able to have conversations with my team, and I probably have like made certain decisions based on input that I've gotten from my team, but it's always been very, 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 very clear from everyone around me that at the end of the day, like it is my choice, which is like
cool.
Rock on.
Great.
So great. Yeah.
I love that.
One thing I wanted to jump into specifically really quick was TikTok. How much has TikTok impacted your music and your streaming that you've noticed? And how important of a role does it play when you're promoting a song or a project?
I feel like in my brain, it's like everything, even though I know it's not everything. And
Interesting. Speak on that.
It's it's like a mind game. You know what I mean? Like, I just like shouted out my own album and I didn't even
shout out Mind Games debut album.
It's like it's so funny because there's so many artists who like I love, who like I'm watching rise to fame, who like aren't on TikTok, who like don't really do TikTok, who are like fully doing their career, playing massive shows, opening for incredible people, like without having a huge TikTok presence. Yet like when something doesn't blow up, like the first thought in my head is like, you're failing and like everything's gonna go to shit and like, oh, you know what? It's such a psychological thing. Is TikTok a good and helpful tool when promoting music? 100%. It is literally free to use. It can change your life. Like, you know, so many people who otherwise would have never discovered you can discover you through TikTok. For that, I am like incredibly grateful. But I think as an artist and as someone who uses TikTok, I'm sure you could ask many other people too. I'm sure you have felt the same way. It's like, it can be difficult to separate, you know, like numbers and TikTok things like from your actual success and from like the story you're actually telling. Like, I think that it's created this, like, as I said, mental game for artists now, because it's like, if it didn't blow up on TikTok, there's no chance it'll blow up or whatever. When, you know, it's like we hear all these stories of these songs blowing up years later, of songs blowing up in other ways, and artists blowing up in other ways. And so, you know, do I appreciate it? Do I use it all the time? And is it a part of every marketing promo plan? Duh, like 100%. Like, you're always hoping for like a viral video that leads to the pre-saves, that leads to the playlist, whatever, streams. But do I think that it's like the only thing that matters? Like, no, I don't, because
well put.
Other people do that.
I think that's a great way to think, because if you do rely on TikTok and only TikTok, the mind game that he's talking about is so real. Like, there's days where you write a song, I'm like, I'm obsessed with it, it's my favorite song you've ever written, and then it doesn't do well on TikTok, and I'm like...
And then we start thinking differently of the song.
The song's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally, and that's such...
It could be dangerous.
Like, no. Like, like so many of my absolute favorite songs, like, that I've ever written or that, like, my friends ever, like, wrote or whatever, like... You know, I've seen it not blow up, and in my mind, I'm just like, this is dumb. Like, this is the best song in the world. You know what I mean? But it's just, you know, it's the algorithm, and you just got to keep doing it. You can't let it bring you down, you know? But
we just appreciate it for what it is.
Totally. And for what it's done for me, thank you, TikTok. I love you. You know what I mean? Like, appreciate it.
Totally. One thing I'd love to ask about and congratulate you for is your first headlining tour. I have never done that, and I'm so curious to talk to you like firsthand about what that was like. So how did that start? When did you know, okay, now's the time for me to tour? Like, just kind of let me know how you knew you were ready for that.
Okay, I feel like this ongoing theme, because people like asked me the same thing about like releasing a full-length album. I feel like I needed my team and like the people around me to be like, you can do this, Jordy. Like, you can actually do this. Because for me, it's very easy for me to look at myself and be like, you can't do this. Like, what the hell are you thinking? Why on earth go
imposter syndrome,
tour across the country? What are you doing? But I had people in my corner, my agent, my manager, and the label just being like, you're ready. You can do this. I've played a bunch of great shows in LA. We did a New York, Chicago, LA run like right before COVID, and like sold out a 250 cap room in Chicago, sold out like a 200 cap room in New York, like
amazing.
Did the same in LA. And so I was like, okay, like this is real. Like, people are like definitely like the music is translating to like real audiences. And then during COVID, everything happened with, you know, long distance and all of the things. And so the growth during COVID was like immense, you know, even people like you who like discovered the music during COVID. And so by the time we were like, well, we were supposed to do shows like before COVID happened, and then it fucked up everything. And so I don't know, it was definitely during COVID. I think my manager and my agent were just kind of like working on the side without really being like, we're making you a tour, we're routing you a tour. I mean, they were like, they would never do anything without my permission, but I think that they were just like getting things ready and seeing what venues would be possible and whatever. And then after things really started picking up with long distance, we were like, okay, like we can tour, I think. So, you know, as the pandemic came to an end and we were able to like solidify more plans, it just became real again. I got Firefly, which was cool. And that was like a good way to like warm up the live show, like coming out of COVID right before tour. And that was
right, the festival.
the first festival performance, which was crazy cool. And yeah, the fact that the tour is already done and the fact that we did it and it was like a success and it was great. I'm like, it hasn't really processed. Like, there really were crowds at every show, and it blows my mind thinking about it. Like, it's really, really bizarre and weird.
How did it feel performing in your hometown? Like, did friends and family show up to support? Like, what was that like?
It's gotta be emotional, huh?
It was so good. Yeah, it was emotional. It was like friends, family. There's this like incredible photo someone took of my grandparents, like the three of them, like looking down, like at this like, massive crowd, like at me performing. Like my kindergarten music teacher, like so many lovely people who like came out to support. So
good.
It was beautiful. It was great. It was such a
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, what was the main way that you guys were promoting this tour? How were you guys doing that?
Promotion was, you know, all like on my platforms, like a mixture of like ads, like out on Instagram and through each venue and on TikTok. And then I'm lucky enough to have like a really great PR team at the label, and their job, or a part of their job, is like tour promotion. So they were kind of reaching out to like local outlets and, you know, reaching out to like each city and kind of seeing if any outlets would cover the tour. And so we were lucky that, you know, people were advertising the tour and everything. But yeah, it's always just like, you know, posting a TikTok and then in the comments being like, don't forget to get tickets to tour, and just like keep stories, keep posting the posts. It's like, you feel like you're annoying people, but you just have to do it, and you just have to like go with it. And yeah, it was all worth it, really. It was,
of course. And then as far as choosing which cities to go to, were you guys using your Spotify, TikTok analytics to see where the most people were?
100%. That was a part of it. Absolutely. Cool. And then before we announced the actual tour, we did this thing where we like announced a tour and people could basically put in the cities that they're coming from. So we could like see like how many people we'd, you know, be polling for each city. And that was a very helpful tool. I forget the platform that we used or what that's called. I'll get that to you after this is done so that you can get it or something, because it was very helpful.
Yeah, that sounds really useful.
It's awesome.
It was a great tool. So yeah, and then we just narrowed down on the cities we ended up going to, and then, you know, we ended up selling out New York really quickly, so we added another night, and then it like sold out again, and that was really crazy and
incredible.
And yeah, no, it was amazing. It was really, really great, and I'm happy we were able to do it before I feel like Omicron is like coming back. Like,
yeah, it was good timing.
Things are just people are getting COVID again, so I'm glad we were able to do it safely and, you know, get it in before things start happening again.
Yeah.
Well, with this whole metaverse coming out soon and becoming a thing, who knows? Maybe you can just do a digital show next time.
Honestly,
if COVID progresses.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to see you as an avatar. I'd tune in.
I would love that too, honestly.
Hot boy avatar.
Yes, please.
So before we wrap things up, I want to discuss your creative process a little bit. From how you find your instrumentals, how you work with producers, and how you deal with writer's block if you ever experience it.
Totally. I think my my process is different for each song. I think most of the time, I can't say every time, but most of the time, well, maybe it's more half and half. I feel like it's either I come in with a concept, like I know exactly like the title or like the idea that I want to write about that day.
Cool.
Or it just comes out of like the conversation you have with like the people that you're writing with. Like, I feel like for me, it's like both of those are like equally kind of like prevalent in my life. Like, I will get an idea, write it down in my notes, maybe record a little melody, bring it into the session, or I'll have no idea what I want to write that day. And I walk into the session, and based on the conversation, then we kind of discover like what we want to write about that day. And in terms of writer's block, actually one of like my favorite songs on the album came out of like a very writer's block moment. It's called Till It Hurts. And I wrote it in Big Bear last April. And I think a part of the writer's block was that me and my friends got an Airbnb to like write music in the mountains. And it was beautiful.
So fun.
But I think that like, because we like put money into getting an Airbnb and like we made this whole trip, I was like putting that much more pressure on myself to get good music out of it, because I was like, I better like recoup what I put into this Airbnb.
Right. It's so ironic how that happens.
Yeah. And so I could not for the life of me figure out what I wanted to say that day. And I was just like, I was like, guys, like, I don't even, like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what to do. And so we just like ended up going on a walk and like probably had like a glass of wine or something. Like, I don't know. Like, we were just like hanging out and like talking and getting our mind off of like writing the song, and more just like, let's be humans and like enjoy this experience and like have real conversations. And it literally just like, and then it happened, and then it like just came to us, and it was beautiful. And so I think like stepping away, don't force it. Like, it's not going to happen if you force it. Like, and whether stepping away is like an hour or like a month, like step away from it, like start something new, because there's like going to be so many other ideas that come to you. And sometimes like you finish something way after you started it, you know? And so,
yeah.
Or if you can't even think of anything to start, don't write. It's okay. Just stop and take a break. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I was home on vacation once just with my family, and my publisher, I was talking to her and I was just expressing like a stress I was feeling because I hadn't written in a while. And she was like, you being home with your family is like equally doing your job as you writing a song. Like, this is you living your life, enjoy your life, experience life, and then like you write about life. You know what I mean?
It's a great perspective. I love that. I've never heard it worded that way. I really like that.
Yeah. Take a break.
And then one more quick things about your process. The producers that you work with, do you have the same group of producers that you've worked with for years, or are you constantly collaborating with different producers?
Definitely a mixture. Johnny Shore produced like 5 or 6 of the songs on the album, and he actually produced that very first single that went out through that label that I put out.
Wow.
Wow.
Very cool.
He's been with me since he was my first session in LA, and now he's like one of like my main producers. Like, he really like
awesome.
Developed the sound, which is beautiful, and he's my favorite. And then right before COVID, at those shows that I was talking about, that's when I met my good friends Drew and Austin. Austin's also an artist. And Drew is her boyfriend and also my guitar player and my producer and co-writer. And he's amazing. He did Till It Hurts. He did Trevor, I Just Want to Be Loved. So I have like my core producers for sure, but you know, I'm definitely getting put in sessions with new people and people I've wanted to work with, and you know, occasionally like just like a new session, because I think it's important to meet people and you know, explore that. But it's a really nice feeling too once you like have your core group to like know that like if you have a session with this person, like you're gonna get something good. Like, you just know it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Something you've done really well is build a solid foundation of people that have your back and want the best for you, and I think that's awesome.
Thank you. I feel like
I agree with that. Sorry, go for it.
No, please. Like, no, I was just saying, like, I think that's I think that's really important, you know, because not everything is going to be perfect all the time. And so you want people who, when you need to like fall back on someone or something, like you want like people to catch you, you know what I mean? Like, if you have a team that like isn't vibing with you or the way you treat them, like they're not going to want to catch you in those low moments, you know? So it's kind of just like treat people with respect and work with people that make you feel loved. And, you know, as a queer artist too, like I'm very lucky to be able to do that, because I think it feels so normal for me. I've been out for so long, but like every interview I get, like, and honestly, I'm kind of like, it's kind of refreshing that, like, to be honest, I'm like being serious when I say like the fact that you guys weren't like, what's it like being a gay artist? I'm always just like, I'm an artist. I'm just like attracted to guys. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's a question I get asked a lot, but I think I forget like how truly, truly lucky I am. Because even 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I just think things are changing every day. Like, to have a team that's literally like, be your authentic self, write music based on your real experiences, like talk about boys in your songs or not, like do whatever you want, like, it's really cool. Because I feel like that just wasn't a thing, years ago. So
I've even learned a lot in the last few years too. I remember I was talking to my younger cousin and I was asking him like, oh, are you planning to come out to our family? And he's like, no, I'm just planning to bring my boyfriend home one day. Like, I don't feel the need to, if you don't have to come out bringing Connor, why do I have to come out bringing, I'm like, and when he was literally 14 years old at the time. And I'm like, this teenager just changed my perspective of just the world.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're living in a world where you can feel that way too, where it's not like some big, like, oh, I'm out, here's a big announcement. It's just like, no, it's just a thing. Like,
absolutely. And granted, it's like, it's a huge part of who I am. It's a very large part of my project. Like, I think what I learned on tour too is like, what's really beautiful is that like, I was able to see a lot of queer people come to these shows as like a way of like finding like a fun, safe space to like celebrate being us. You know what I mean? And like, to me, that was like the most special part of it. And so my music is always like first and foremost for the people who can actually hear the lyrics and like really literally relate to them. But also my goal as a musician and as a songwriter is to make music for everyone. And I just like making pop music. And I think that anybody can enjoy my music. But what's cool about it is that, if a queer person hears the song somewhere, they get to have that tiny great celebratory experience where they're like, oh, I actually hear myself in the song. And that's really cool. You know what I mean? So
I love that. I
That's
know
amazing.
I saw that a lot in your comments promoting your new song, Trevor.
Mhm.
There were people in the comments like, oh my God, my name's Trevor. No one's ever written a song about me. And you're like, I hope this gets to every Trevor on the algorithm.
is funny.
I'm like, I love him so much.
Oh, dude, thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, hey, we're fans of your music. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. My last question is, what can people expect from you for 2022?
Oh my gosh. More shows.
Great.
Assuming that like it is safe to do so.
Come to Vegas. We'll go.
I will come to Vegas. Also, goal for 2022 is to like get a collab with Lil Connor over here. Maybe.
Hey, you kidding me?
Maybe a little talk collab.
That'd be so fun.
Say no more. I'm all in.
Good. But there's a couple of songs done that like hopefully we'll be able to roll out. But come January, February, I'm like really diving back into writing. So hopefully we'll have another album out before the end of next year. We'll see.
That's
Wow,
so
amazing.
exciting. And you're always welcome in Vegas if you want to come. We have our studio here. You guys can write something here. We film content. We have all our cameras. So
Yeah, let's do it.
if you ever need some.
I've never been. And I want to come to Vegas to see Adele. So
Yes.
Oh, yes, she has
My
that.
sister's
yeah.
going, so you should go.
Great.
You have a place to stay if you need it. We're always here for you.
So sweet.
Always.
Thank you guys. You're so sweet. I appreciate it.
And where can everybody find you? Social media, Spotify?
Spotify, just JORDY, or any platform really where you stream. Just JORDY. Well, not. It's JORDY. No, I've always like said just JORDY, and then people are like,
Oh no,
JORDY.
one word
on streaming platforms, and then TikTok is I am JORDY, Insta is JORDY Music, Twitter is JORDY Songs. I think we're all over the place, and
all good. We'll have it all linked. Don't worry.
Perfect. Yeah, and that's it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. You have any more questions?
No, just that
Cool.
we love you.
Yeah,
Love
thank you,
guys
JORDY.
so much. Thanks for having me.
Don't wanna talk about you. Don't wanna talk about